Welcome to the Happiness Lab podcast, where Andreas and Irina are simply talking about life and about the business. So, if you are looking for more ways how to find work-life balance or simply want to make more money by doing what you love, this one is for you. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Here we are. We are back. It's been a while, but we are here. We are still serving you. And the subject that came to our mind today, and it feels really valid on many levels, especially when it comes to taking actions on your business, in your life, making changes, taking necessary steps, is about the fears and the fear of judgment.
Yeah, or the fear of failure, right? But it's a little bit both sides that either we fear. Many people can actually overcome failing, both on a logical level, understanding that every book I have read about big entrepreneurs or successful people, like there's many chapters about how they failed, how things went wrong, how they overcome struggles, how like a lot of really powerful stories about them being in a bad situation and working themselves out of it somehow. So logically and emotionally, most of us can get through that by both understanding and acting. But what happens if you do choose to do something online? You're a coach, you're an expert, a network marketer that wants to push a product in a way where it's not 100% safe anymore. It's more like where you need to do something outside your comfort zone. You need to get out there and do something you have not done before, but you're actually depending on other people to show up. So you can tell yourself that I will do it despite having 0 people show up, or I will carry through. But emotionally, there can be a big disconnect, because one thing is that your ego is trying to protect you, basically. And another thing is what you just said, Irina, the topic for today. How will other people judge you from saying you will do this, and then you ended up having 0 people? It's easy to think people will think that you're a failure, right?
Absolutely.
And that's really what we're going to dive into today, because who has the right to define what failure and success is? I just did a post today about what is success anyway on my blog, my Facebook. It was a longer post this time. That's why I call it a blog. But what is success anyway? And I can say the same thing about failure. Who has the right to define what failure looks like? And if you have done something and told the world that you're going to do something and nobody showed up, and then somebody says that you're a failure, I think it's safe to say, and that's where I'm like curious about your input, but I think it's safe to say that anybody who have already made it, and made it is like a broad term, right? But someone who has already made it, they will probably never say you're a failure for doing something. And those who will say, they have probably never themselves done anything like that, right? So yeah, what do you think? Who do you take advice from?
This is a big one, and I love that you touched it on both sides. Well, first of all, as you said, who says that failure ever exists? The only time it exists if you decide to stop. So if you look at it from that perspective, that the failure is just another judgment that may or may not come your way. And even if people do say that you failed and why you even bother, then is it about you, or is it about them and you just triggered something that they don't owe themselves? The courage, the actually determination, the fact that you are going without a fear of a judgment that triggers that part of them to either protect you or to just take themselves out of the misery of watching you trying to succeed no matter what and no matter how far it takes. What if the failure in this way is never an option? So now the only thing that can stop you is what you make those things that people say about you, to you, or around you, feel to yourself. This is when it
Right.
becomes a judgment. Otherwise, it's just a talk, just a word.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, a sentence came to me when you said that, and that's something about you need to bust your own beliefs, right? So it's
Exactly.
very much it's very much about what you believe will happen. I once read a book that was called "What If It Does Work Out."
Oh yeah.
I mean, how I just needed to read it just due to that title, and it was actually about the coaching industry, and um, there's an equal chance that it actually will work out for you. It's the same amount of percentage that it doesn't work out. So it's all about your belief in it. Because if you believe it will not, and people will make fun of you, and that makes it hard for you, yeah, it will probably be exactly like that. But there's also the opposite, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I just had a question, and it like as quickly as it came into my mind, it went out. It was so bizarre. But I was just about to ask you why. Do you think there is ever a time frame for success, for actually reaching the success, if you know that, if you're determined to make it work no matter what?
Hmm. Um, I will answer that a little bit different than just straightforward because uh, actually back to what I said earlier, what is success? I think success is hard to achieve if it's something we strive if it's somewhere we strive to get. Because you see, I think successful people will still im- pick an imaginary person, whoever listens here in you, Irina, that you look up to, that is like an inspiration to you, maybe a role model to you, or at least somewhat they have what you want. But I promise you that the chance of them still having problems, challenges, ups and downs in their life is quite big, uh, and probably bigger challenges than you have
Oh,
because you're
true.
not on the same level of income as them. You're not in the same, what can you say, level of influence. You're probably a lot of stuff that makes you want to go there. But if they saw it as, if you see it, if they saw it as a destination, I don't think you will ever be successful. I don't think there's anything as time and money freedom. I mean, you just don't get to a place where you can just lay on a beach doing nothing. That's
Yeah.
not how life works. Life works because you work, and so I think success is about getting to a place where obviously money and time is a thing, but it's about balancing stuff out and having fun where you are and wanting to solve the 19 different problems that is on your phone when you wake up and wanting to serve people from a meaningful in a meaningful way rather than just like what success is probably not is waking up feeling miserable. It's having everything on paper but feeling empty inside, all these cliches. I mean,
Mm.
so I think the minute that we start to see that success has many levels, success has you can already have success. And that's also what I wrote about in my blog, that you can have success right now, and you need to celebrate that and be happy. Um, and that's not to be confused with not doing any more. I myself was a ambitious striver because every time I reach some level of, it could be easily be perceived as success, I would not stop up and celebrate. I would just raise the bar. Say, okay, now I did this, I'll do this. Now
Mm.
let's go on, let's go on, let's go on. The show must go on, right? And I can keep telling myself that the right car in the driveway, the right house in their suburbs, the right number on the bank account, whatever. Like, yeah, but then you get there, and then it's like two cars in the driveway. It's a bigger number. It will always escalate. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have ambitions to go there, but I think you should definitely appreciate where you are and then be
Yeah.
mindful about you can get so much more. And that's where you have to do now what you need to do despite the fear, because the biggest difference from you and the people you look up to is probably the level of confidence in what they do and in themselves. And they have probably still have fear. They just learn to listen to the fear and let the fear guide them a little bit more than holding them back. That was my long answer to a very simple question.
But I think it nicely actually ties up to the fear of judgment, right? If you think about this, everything you said just now, the reason why you have been raising the bar every time you reach something that was, in theory, you could be very happy about. You have overcome the challenge you have never faced before. You have found a solution. You have actually, like, you are much better than you were yesterday or months before. Instead of being proud of yourself, you keep thinking, oh, is it enough for other people to think that I am awesome? Right? Like, you are still finding that perfect spot where nobody will be able to judge you, because now if you compare yourself to others, you still have a lot to go, and there is still a lot of insecurities popping out. Maybe I'm not enough. What will people say if I'm gonna now post that I have had an amazing day with my child? Actually, what type of reaction will it create in people? It's like, hey, you should have had this time, you should have had this before. So are you avoiding of sharing your little wins and being excited about your journey every day because you are afraid that other people will say that you are, what on earth? This is not an achievement, right? So you are afraid of subconsciously being judged because of your inner insecurities. Back to self-worth, back to self-confidence. And it's just, is it something actually that came also, and I see it in my notes about this part of, we are so afraid of other people telling us something that we still think about ourselves when it comes to the fear of judgment. Yeah, when it comes of like us not being like fully in love with our journey and appreciating us and what we do every single day, and finding the satisfaction and peace and excitement in every little thing we have done better or different today that actually got us, even as simple as help us to be happy all day. Doesn't mean we signed up clients. It doesn't mean like we have created something like super duper scalable or kept the momentum or brought the momentum to a new level, but just simply keep ourselves in a positive mind all day. It's a huge achievement for lots of people, but we still somehow fear that people are going to judge us for this because we still don't feel good enough. Gosh, I hope this all makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. And if I should add a little bit to what you're saying, I think it's also about that it's a lot of people say that it's okay not to be okay, and of course it is. But you need to find ways to be okay with yourself, because else you will have that inner critic. There's multiple people in your head, and you can. It's actually quite funny to name all of them because it's easier to call them out. But the inner critic is definitely, if you're not comfortable with yourself, it will keep pushing you in ways that are not like healthy, but also in ways that are not like productive or constructive. Um, so I find, just to talk a little bit into solution mode here, that it's easy to say the right thing is to take action and it's to let yourself fail. But I think you can do that if you establish some clear agreements with yourself, that you say you want to do something, and then you're not jumping into a place where you start to demand more or less of yourself. You don't need to form new agreements. You don't need to, especially not, fear or even guilt. Guilt is a big thing in my life, that's sometimes triggered by fear of not like being enough for the people I love, or guilt about not showing up and not adding value enough to the people who turned up, and all this stuff. So whenever fear and guilt like creeps in, they will creep in, and you need to look at the agreements you make with yourself and say, yeah, but I'll still carry on. I will still, despite these circumstances, that proves that yes, I could fail, but I could also it could be a big leap for me. So yeah.
It's back
A
to
lot of people,
establishing relationships with yourself,
yes,
right?
it's back to establish a relationship with yourself that because fear and guilt will always be there in my life. So I just need to know that it's telling me something, but it's definitely not telling me to change my plans. It's telling me
Wow.
to push further with my plans, or it's telling me when I take too many baby steps, because that's also what I see in the clients we coach in our Passion into Profit course. I think if you take too many baby steps, it will be miserable for you to be in. So baby steps and planning too much will probably not do anything than holding yourself back. And I actually think I have a good answer to your definition of success. What I know we're jumping a little bit, but it's our podcast, so we can do whatever we want here, right?
Love it.
I think that success means that something is growing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, something is growing, and that could mean that it's about us becoming better, learning more, developing more courage. So a failure is really only when we give up and we don't do anything when things turn out in a different way than we wanted.
Stagnation, right? That would be the
Stagnation, yeah,
nice word, right?
that's the dream killer.
Oh, please don't tell me. And here you go. Now, when you know the difference, and when you understand that that fear of judgment actually comes down to you not having the right talks on relationships with yourself, when you still don't see your worth, when you still are too attached to, actually you haven't even had a conversation with yourself. Like, what do you make everything mean? Is it really about you, or all the stuff that you tell to yourself, it's just something you made up to keep yourself safe? I mean, this is really deep, and this is something I have discovered about myself. I have been telling myself, oh my God, so many stories. And maybe some of them are true, but I wasn't, right now, I'm not the same person as I was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And guess what? I was acting on the behalf of my best self, on my own best interest at that time of level of self-awareness that I had right back then. And yes, maybe I was judged, and maybe I was judged fairly, but it doesn't mean that I will still be judged today, because right now I know so much more about myself, about my abilities, about what I can do, what's my worth, what's my power. And I know that I can actually make a difference. And you know how I know it? Because I have done it and I'm doing it.
Yes.
And I'm doing it even if I am triggered by, or my board of director says to me, you know what, maybe you're wrong. And then I ask, but what if I'm not wrong? But that comes from the deep level of self-awareness and really wanting to achieve different result tomorrow. I'm not saying better, because it might not be better, but it will be totally different. And different
Yeah.
result gives me data, and I can work with this. I can see what works, what doesn't, because I know my failure is not an option. And the only time I fail is when I stop.
I think you're actually found a way to honor yourself. I mean, when you honor yourself by what I heard you were saying is two things. You honor yourself by looking at this as data. That's one thing you can work with that. And I also heard that you're honoring yourself by actually daring to ask yourself, what do you want? What is it that I want? And you go into a little bit of self coaching, which is very powerful when we're stuck.
Yeah, do notice that people don't really ask themselves a question. People just let everything that comes to their mind to be the truth. Everybody
Yeah.
just accepts it to be that's it, that's reality, that's how the way the world is built. This is my life, and there's no way around it. And the minute you start asking yourself the right questions, like at least being curious about where this come from. I mean, is it real?
Yeah, and I
Wow,
think
the whole new world opens up,
I,
right?
I'm actually guilty of Googling right now, but I just remember that I needed a number here because I think that a human, on average, we think like, it says here 70,000 thoughts a day.
Oh,
So, I mean, and that's not, you cannot say that, okay, then I will not think these thoughts, because A mentor of mine once explained to me that was a good expression, so I'm just telling it because it made sense for me. But your thoughts is just like snow coming down from the sky. It's just a lot of it, a lot of snowflakes coming down. That's your thoughts. You don't really decide how big they are, how small they are, how they look or not look, if they're icy or a little wet. You don't know, but they're just coming all the time. But you can't make a snowball before you make something out of them, right? So you need to actively pick that snow up and form it, and then it starts rolling. And that's what's happening when you pick some of the wrong thoughts or some of the good thoughts, because both are there. So you can make a snowball of crazy negativity and critical thoughts about yourself. You can make a snowball from thoughts telling the opposite, that will actually push you in a like towards confidence and towards growth and success, right?
That.
Did that make
Love
sense?
that. A lot of sense. I actually love this express. I love the way you have put it. I think it's perfect. This, and the fact is that because we have so many thoughts, yet we manage to find that one thought that never serves us, and we manage to make it a reality by taking action of not taking action.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
bizarre what we
Yeah.
do to ourselves. And fundamentally, it all comes down to fear of judgment, because we are, as a human being, we are meant to stay connected. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, if we do something wrong, people are going to judge us. They're going to say no to us. They're going to reject us. They're going to leave us alone. And we will be lonely. We will be scared. Ooh, that's a
Oh
scary
yeah.
one, isn't it?
Yes, it's very scary. But maybe
Actually,
it's a
it's
little
not,
bit
isn't
like
it?
but it's a little bit like the first time you need to jump in the cold pool, outside pool, you're on a vacation, the weather is a little bit there's a little bit clouds on the sky, the sun is not really there, maybe it's a little bit early on the day, but you just look so much forward to stand there in your swim shorts and you're just ready to jump in, and you're just with your big toe, you just feel the water, and that's like, oh, this is freaking cold. So you spent like 10 minutes having an inner conversation about what do I do to get in this water? And then you start about, oh, is somebody watching? You start looking over your shoulder. Is
Yeah, will I
anybody
look
else is watching
stupid? Yeah.
how stupid or retarded you look like for not jumping in? And then finally you jump in. And you know what? The next morning, the weather is not bitter. I mean, apparently you are in a place where it's just a little bit cloudy in the mornings and the pool is just cold in the morning. But you know what? Day two, it's easier to get in. I would actually say 10 times easier because you just did
Mm.
it the day before. And that is, I think that's what's happening when we embrace the failure, as you just said. When we learn that it was actually not, it was actually no one else thinking of us. No one was thinking of us what we thought people were thinking of us.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't even know if people will get back to you with that criticism that you're thinking into right now. And why they care about it. So it's an interesting subject. Why does it take so much of our attention?
I think for our one of the next subjects, maybe not the next time because we have a lot to think about, we can ask the question. So if you are in the place where you feel like you are constantly judged and questioned and brought down, and
Mhm.
then why are you still there? Because
Yeah.
you are a, like average of the 5 person you hang out with. So that's another big topic we could touch up. I don't know when, so don't judge us if we pick
No,
something
but
better next time. But I think it's
it's so
good.
true, and it's so crucial. If you deal with let's not change the subject too much, but if you deal with a lack of belief in yourself, I mean, you have no clue about, unless you have tried it, you have no clue about how powerful it can be to borrow someone else's belief in you. But if you surround yourself with people who keep telling you that you shouldn't do this, oh, maybe you
Or you
should do
can't do
this to
it.
take care of yourself, or you can't do it, or whatever it may be, versus you having a future where you surround yourself with people who says that, you know what, I'm 100% certain you can do this. I mean, it will be hard, but I'll be there holding your hand, or I'll be there supporting you, or I'll be there talking to you after. And actually, you just feel that they have so much belief in you, so you would let them down from not doing it. That's
Oh,
powerful.
powerful.
That's really powerful. So again, honor yourself, just as you said, Irina. You said it beautifully. Asking yourself what you want, and look at the data from then doing stuff that takes you in that direction. I think that's powerful. Maybe we should end it off by
Yeah.
have a conversation going afterwards, either in one of our. I think we only have one free group, but we have multiple Facebook groups. So if people are in one of our programs, they should still go into the free group and post this, or post it in the comment on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this, because I think could be interesting to hear from people what's holding them back. Not like fear, but what kind of a fear is holding them back. And I also think it's interesting for me and for you, Arena, to hear how do you, listening to this, define success? What is success to you? Because maybe you got some other perspectives on from this talk about what could success also look like, and you could reframe that. So
Mm.
it's really interesting to see if some of you had some aha moments about fear of failure and about success and what that meant to you. I would be happy to get back to a conversation like that. I don't know about you, Arena.
Yeah. Any time of the day, just bring it on, seriously. And when Andrea says bring it on and post and share, we mean it, because we are going to give ourselves 100% when we come to the other side. Our goal is to move people from the stuck state to desired state. Our goal is to help people to become better versions of themselves, to reinvent themselves, right? And
Yes.
it's the whole foundation of building a different life for yourself. The reason why you probably listening to this is because there's something that is bothering you, right? So
Or
how about we figure out what it is?
you have so much potential, you have talents, you feel that you are meant to do more, be more, create more, but something is holding you back from doing these things.
Which,
And
like,
oh,
most of the time are so simple, right?
yes, I think that's a topic for itself soon enough on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Okay, another topic on the list.
Yeah, on the list. But it was very good to actually be back. And as you started with, it has been a while, but it has been Christmas, and we're all about building a meaningful business. So we also took time off for Christmas, and then I know you haven't been sick, Arena, but I have. So that's the joy of free kids. Everybody can bring something home, and
Oh
sometimes the
yeah, it's
parents get
coming
hits
this
right.
time,
So
family
I
as well.
mean,
So
yeah, so it's about prioritizing family and prioritizing yourself, that time of the year and so forth. But I think we'll be back more regularly now. So I look forward to that.
right. Me too. So thank you so much, Andreas, for sharing. And thank you
You
for
too.
you guys spending the time with us. I think it's really cool. And if you find anyone who could potentially benefit from what we are ranting and talking and complaining sometimes about here, then please pass it on. The more people will hear this, the more difference we may actually be able to make.
Yes, exactly. And that's our mission.
Okay, have a beautiful rest of the day wherever you're watching this, and we will speak to you soon.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.